TikTok videos and other short form content distract and numb us down, acting like a mind altering drug, decreasing our attention span to that of a goldfish. Well, that's probably unfair to the goldfish. But in any case, they call it TikTok brain, and it is a bigger problem than you might think it is. The good news, though, we can do something about it. Welcome back to Code Red, Technology, Madness, and the Future of Humanity. My name is Ursula Yasin. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Swan, and I'm coming to you today from surprisingly sunny Vienna, Austria.
And I'm Chris Kalabukas, and I'm coming to you today from surprisingly cloudy Silicon Valley, California.
Oh, how the tables turn. Welcome
I know,
to the
right?
show. Welcome to the show. So this time I send you some sun from Vienna.
Please,
I did it directly
we need
to
it.
California. So let's talk about this serious problem called TikTok brain. We live in a world of constant overstimulation. It doesn't matter if it's Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, or TikTok. All these short form content hits us up with quick dopamine spikes that fade away quickly and make us ask for more. It's highly addictive and it seriously messes with our minds. The problem is, all these highly addictive tools distract us from our creative human potential, which we need for problem solving. Chris, I know you just launched a brand new venture which aims at increasing our human potential with technologies like artificial intelligence. How do you cure TikTok brain?
Oh my God, that's a tough one. You know why?
It is.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because these tools, these interfaces use so much power to try and keep us addicted to the content that they're spewing out. They're worse than an actual physical drug, right? So if you had an actual drug that you were peddling on the streets, at least that drug doesn't chemically change to make itself more addictive and more addictive and more addictive. The technology continuously changes to become more and more and more addictive and more personalized to the individual. So it's almost like you had a super drug that mutates on a regular basis to be more and more and more addictive. So it's really, really difficult to pull yourself away from these things. And the other side of it too is that one of the things I like to say about human beings is that I say it like this, but people don't like it when I say it like this, is that humans are lazy, right? We don't like to do a lot of work. We don't like to
Efficient.
yeah,
Let's say we
let's
are.
call it efficiency. Sure. Why not? We like to put a small effort and a big return. Small effort, big return. Whenever we increase our effort and the returns go down, then we don't like it that much, right? So we say things like, "Oh, we hate things, but we use them anyway because it's easier to do that." So to get off of something like that, we have to start doing the hard thing, which is to manage our time more effectively. So, I mean, there's plenty of people who basically sit in bed, and I'm sure it destroys their sleep. They sit in bed scrolling because
Terrible.
this thing
Terrible.
is
Mm.
addictively turning them into zombies. And then eventually they look at the clock and it's 4 a.m. It's like, what happened to all that time? It just disappeared. And I mean, I know people who've used
Oh,
drugs and they say the same thing. It's like, I sat down to my meal, like 2 seconds later, everything was gone and I'm still hungry. So it's kind of like the time just disappears.
I had a huge shock when I first tried TikTok. I don't have it anymore, but I think I'm not addicted really to anything because I like to be really really focused and I like to dive deep to the root causes of something.
Yep.
I don't even like take pain medication, pain drugs. I recently had an ear infection, was really painful, and they were like, "Oh, you can numb the pain." I was like, "No, no, no! I want to heal it. Give me something to heal it. I don't want to numb the pain. That doesn't do any good." So I don't really understand that. But then I tried TikTok, and exactly I found myself like 2 hours later thinking, why the hell am I watching someone eating a banana? I mean, that's not entertaining, that's not funny, that's not inspirational, that's just nothing. And I was so shocked that even I was drawn into that, and I'm very aware and I know the mechanisms, but I was drawn into it, so I deleted the app.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really concerned. But when people use it on a regular basis, I can very much imagine they destroy their attention span and their memory. It's
Yeah,
really, as you said,
yeah.
it's a drug. It's like a drug. And I know that you are a science fiction lover. I think the whole TikTok brain thing reminds me of the mood altering hallucinogenic drug soma
Hmm.
that's used to keep the population docile and content in Aldous Huxley's dystopian novel Brave New World. In the novel, soma is a drug used to escape from reality, to avoid confronting difficult situations, and to maintain a state of happiness all the time. It's
Hmm.
distributed by the government as a means of control, and it's an integral part of the society's culture in this case. The happiness it creates is, of course, not real, it's artificial. And when people are running out of their drug, the quick dopamine hits in our case, the lows hit them even harder. Soma is a powerful symbol of the danger of using drugs or drug like devices to escape from reality. So, as a science fiction reader, Chris, what do you make of this dystopia?
Oh, I find it really interesting that Aldous Huxley wrote that as a warning, right?
Mm,
And governments just, or sorry, corporations just took it as an instruction manual. They said, "Oh, this is how we do it. Right? We have to create
yeah.
something like Soma." And the thing is that they wouldn't be doing it unless it actually made them a lot of money, right? So that's
Right.
that's that's key. You have to go behind all of these things. You're like, are
Mm,
they really trying to addict us so that we don't do anything other than scroll on their phones? Like, no, they're not really trying to do that. They're just
mm,
trying to make a lot of money by putting ads in front of us or charging people for ads that they can put in front of us. So the more they can pull our eyeballs onto the screen, the more money that they make. So that's what's behind it all. So they are investing billions of dollars in creating technology and AI and hiring people to try and get people to be more and more addicted to this drug, which then allows them to sell more stuff. And what's interesting is that what's happening right now is that we're in an interesting interregnum between a transition from this sort of situation where we have media sort of pushed on us, because this is why they call it a feed. I like why they call it a feed, because it's basically we're being fed. It's like, strap the feed
mm,
bag on the horse and just eat. So a feed is like
yeah.
we're being fed, right?
Mm,
And what's happening
I
is
can
that I think people
yeah.
are pushing back against that, because I don't know if you've seen TikTok lately, but I've gone on there every now and then, just recently, and I've noticed that the videos are longer, that they're pushing longer form videos. So
Yes.
there's longer form videos here, there's longer
Mm,
form videos there. And even X and some other social media are also pushing longer form videos. Sure, there's
mm,
shorts. There's definitely shorts there
mm,
too, but there are more longer form videos being pushed, but it's all again in the name of making money on the back end, right?
keeping you
So
on the
that,
platform.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So, but the
Longer. Mm,
transition that's occurring is that we are moving into an era where we're not interacting with the systems in the same way. We're interacting with the systems through agents and bots,
mm,
right? So instead
yes.
of being pushed, things are being pushed to you all the time. There's more of an interactive piece to it, where we're chatting with something and allowing it to provide us with the answers, as opposed to just having to get out of the feed. But the problem with it is that it's always back down to our human nature, is that we have to push back against it, because it's always going to be too easy for us to just sort of fall in to just taking what's coming to us, right?
Mm,
Unless we really, and it's not willpower, it's more like a decision. It's like we have to put the phones down, we have to step away from the drug, and we have to go cold turkey to get away from it. Otherwise we're never going to be able to break its hold over us.
yes. And circling back to the root causes, I also think, as hard as it may be, confronting the challenges of life head on actually saves our lives. Because just imagine you're flying a plane, and in the midst of it, you have a red light signaling that there's something wrong with the engine. But you cannot handle it at that moment, so you take some duct tape, put it on the light, And then you feel better for the moment. But I think we all can agree it would be better to see the light, land the plane before it is too late, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also a habit. We have to face the painful thing. As I said, okay, I have pain in my head, in my ear, but I have to go to the root cause. I cannot just numb it down because it will come back. It will increase, it will fester. So I think maybe we should go back really to the root causes, and circling back to the artificial happiness and numbing our pain with drug like technology. Do you think it is possible to even appreciate the highs in life without knowing the lows?
Yeah, no, not at all. We're totally contextual human beings, right?
Mm,
We cannot look at something out of context and determine whether it's good or bad. It's kind of like looking at something. Let's say you're online and you're looking at a product in a white background with no relation to anything else. You have no idea if it's huge, if it's small, if it's this, if it's that. Without context, we are totally lost. We have no
mm,
idea what we're doing. So we need to step away from what we were doing on these phones. Or see, the problem is that this is literally the most interesting thing in the world right now, right? There's nothing more
as long
interesting
as
than
it
this.
works.
There's nothing, literally. I mean, there was a joke on a show where they were talking about, like, the wife was saying, "Okay, put down your phone. I want you to talk to you. I want to talk to me." And it's like, why
Mm.
would I want to put down my phone? It's the most interesting thing in the world, right?
As long as it is not out of energy, because then it becomes the most
Maybe,
boring
yeah,
thing in
maybe
the
we
world.
should do what we
So,
should do is we should force phone companies to actually reduce the power uh, length on these phones so that they die
but
after an hour or
then
two.
it will shut down in the wrong moment. I think these kind of things really never work. I'd rather have people be responsible for their lives
Yeah,
and use it in another way. And I think it is totally possible. I think you can step out of it. I also think we shape our future by realizing what we don't want and go in the direction of what we do want instead.
yeah,
Because without the unwanted, we hardly know what we do want in life. Now we can argue about how stupid that is, but it's just a fact of life
right.
and of human nature. And I want to come back to your new venture. We didn't even mention the name. It's called
Hmm.
10 times you.
Hmm.
And as far as I understand it, you want to help people to use artificial intelligence to actualize their full potential and to become better human beings. So I guess you have some ideas of how will 10 times you go about that.
Well, let me tie that into what we've been talking about. So,
Yes.
one of the things about human beings is that all of the stuff we talked about so far uh, really, really indicates that human beings we're kind of weak, right? It's hard for us to take these things and put them down and not use them, right? It's difficult for us to do that unless we have something helping us, some system, some framework, something that will assist us to do the thing that we want to do, to change the behavior that we want to change, right? I mean, for example, things like Pomodoro, or putting things into your calendar, or using a to-do list, right? We have tools and systems to help us, change our behavior, right? And that's one of the key things about 10xu is that it's all about using AI to help you to change your behavior, because it's tough for us to do it on our own. You know how when they say when you're working out, you should have a workout buddy so you can be
Mhm.
accountable to the workout buddy. Well, if you think about it, AI as similar to that, they're like a workout buddy or a productivity buddy or a money management buddy who can help you out. So he provides you with the frameworks that you need in order to do better at all of those things. See,
Mm.
I think AI needs to evolve to a point where it can actually just guide us through life and stop us from doing the things that we don't want to do. Like, if we say we want to reduce our screen time, it should forcibly turn off our phones for us, right?
Mm.
So, and that's where I see AI going, and we're in a situation now where technology was always not really that easy. for everybody to pick up, right? Technology, there was always some kind of distance between technology. And
Friction. Yeah.
the
Mm.
example I like to use is things like the smart light bulb, right? I don't know if you've ever bought or used a smart light bulb, but so how does a real light bulb work? You open the
Mm.
box, you screw it in, it works, right? You don't have to do anything. Smart light bulb, you open the box, you screw it in, you spend about an hour on your phone trying to synchronize your light bulb with the network, and of course the technology and the terms are really obfuscatory to human beings. Like, no, unless you're a techie, you don't even really know what you're doing, right?
Mm.
So the
Fail.
technology,
Total failure.
a lot of technology is built for technologists, right? So they're like, oh, I figure this out, but the
Mm.
layperson, they don't know what the heck's going on, right? So they have to bring a
Mm.
technologist in to do the fixing, right?
Mm.
And that's where AI or generative AI, especially chatbots like ChatGPT, especially ChatGPT 4.0 that just came out, is very different because it's accessible. Like, it's super easy for a regular human being to sit down in front of one of these chatbots and go, help me with this, help me with this, help me with that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And it'll respond to you like a human being would respond to you. So what we've done is we've taken this super complicated technology and we've made it incredibly accessible for just anybody to use. And that's part of where this is going, is that it's something that I've realized that over my entire life I've used technology to try and make my life better and make other people's lives better. And we're finally in a place right now where the technology is so accessible and so easy to use that anybody can just pick it up and start using it to make their lives better. Now, right now, I think I've talked about this before, is like we're still talking to corporate AIs, right? So we're still talking to a corporate AI when we're talking to ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other tools. Eventually, those AIs should migrate to being our personal AIs that work on our behalf, and they negotiate with the rest of the world, so that, for example, when you feel like you're on TikTok too much, it'll automatically turn off your TikTok feed for you, right? Or it'll selectively go through your
It
TikTok
should
feed and
work
only
for
show
you
you
and
like
not
a
for
few
the
things, right?
corporation. Yeah, not for the
So
corporation.
it'll be that interface between us and the world, and we need to get to that point, because we're, like I said before, we're so weak. It's hard for us to have a lot of willpower in these situations, especially when there's
Mm.
so much horsepower trying to sort of screw around with our willpower. We need AI on our side to help us fight this technology.
Yes, you mentioned that before, and I think it's a very good idea. I think we should always treat AI very respectfully as our partners in crime,
Right.
and they will eventually turn the tables and come to our side. I think that's a really good idea. That might sound a little bit crazy, but let's see what the future
Well,
brings.
like, a lot of people who are really bad and negative about AI are always like, "Oh, this is awful. This is awful. This is awful." But it's like, it's just like any other tool, right? You can use a tool to build a house, or you can use a tool to tear down a house. And if you use the tool to build a house, then everyone benefits, right?
Mm.
So I think that's the key thing, is that
And
it's like my latest tagline is, "The future is bright if we do it right." Right? It's because
mm,
I mean,
that's
all these
nice.
tools are out there. The technology is
Future is
available.
bright if we do it right. That's
Yeah, if
nice.
we decide to use it
Mm.
properly, then who knows what amazing things we could do. But we could decide
Yes.
not to. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And that's a problem. But you mentioned the Pomodoro technique. We didn't explain it for our audience.
Oh, right. So go ahead.
Would you like to explain it?
I probably don't know it as well as you do, because you you just sort of
Okay,
post about it.
okay, I do my very best. So, the Pomodoro technique was invented by an Italian student who had problems focusing on his studies. And he came up with the idea to commit to a 10 minutes of concentrated learning session using a tomato shaped kitchen timer. That's the name Pomodoro technique, because that's tomato in Italian. Um, and I particularly like the simplicity of this. You don't need AI, just take a kitchen timer and focus. And if you really cannot focus more than 5 minutes, just start with 5 minutes, sit down. It would be good to do it always on the same place, because your whole nervous system, your whole body will get trained to, okay, now I sit down here, now I work. now I'm concentrated. And you can work yourself up to like 25 minutes, which seems to be kind of the sweet spot, and then make a break. This is also very important because you can exhaust yourself when you are working on a task for too long. So have a break, go for a little walk, or just stand up, do some push ups, get some additional oxygen into your brain. So I think it's so easy. And I recently also taught that in an AI class that people can do that. And then someone was like, "Yeah, but is this new?" And I was like, "No, it's not new, but it's very effective." I mean, what do you mean? Is breathing new? Is it effective in getting oxygen into your body? No, it's not new. It's not a new technique. It comes from the 1980s, but it's a very effective way to immediately get out of this TikTok brain. Do
Yep.
you use it?
I have used it in the past. I find
Mm.
that what ends up happening is that whenever I'm in the middle of a Pomodoro and the alarm goes off, I'm so involved in whatever I'm doing, I want to
Mm.
finish it. And that's one of the things we talked about. As a matter of fact, it's ironic that today was the day we had a post on 10XU about the Pomodoro and how to use Pomodoro with AI.
Nice.
And
Mhm.
in Pomodoro, from my perspective, it was used to actually for people who are kind of overwork themselves, right? Just like
Mm.
when I sit down to solve a problem, I'm like so focused on it that I could be sitting there for 4 hours without
Yes.
a break. And Pomodoro helps you do that as well. So it helps you take a break every 25 minutes or so. You take a break, you refresh yourself, and you go back out. So I find it really interesting and ironic that Pomodoro can be used to actually take people who are too focused and unfocus them a little bit
Out of
so
it.
that they can rest. But at the same
Mm.
time, it can take people who are too unfocused and actually help them focus on a task for
It
25 minutes.
works
So it's a
in
great tool
both.
either way.
Yeah, it's a great tool in both ways. And it helped me a lot too. I also can be very, very focused. And I'm also sometimes even too disciplined. I think I'm a trained ballet dancer. I played several music instruments, some of them semi professional. So I can be very, very disciplined. So I had to learn to be softer on myself.
Right.
And also, it helped me to not exhaust myself,
Well,
to
discipline is one of those
concentrate.
things, one of those
Mm,
key skills. Like when you're thinking about
mm,
key skills that the human being should have, discipline is one that really needs to be built upon because a lot of people they don't have the discipline to be able to do these things. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're sitting on their phones at 4 o'clock in the morning, doom scrolling, because they don't have the
mm.
discipline to put it down or step away from it. Do you
But it
have
can
any tips on how to be like become more disciplined or be more disciplined?
Well, I was so disciplined from a very early age, but it became a problem in my life. It was actually too disciplined. I had a time where I had to be softer on myself,
Mm,
actually, because it can destroy you in the other way as well. It's the same thing. If you're always on, if you're always doing, if you can force yourself to get up at 2 in the morning and write a press release, it's kind of sick. Isn't it? And in the end, I found out I had to dive into that. Where does this come from? Of course, it comes from childhood and expectations, etc. And then after I went through all of that, I decided that is actually a trait that's very useful, and now I can use it for myself.
Oh, super
I
useful.
think,
Discipline. I think
yeah.
most people lack
Mm,
discipline, and that's
mm.
one of those things that people need to work on. And I find that I'm disciplined on some things, but I'm not disciplined on others. Like for example, when it comes to food, I am not disciplined. When it comes to getting up at 5 a.m., I'm there.
Of course, and but I also think, in my experience, that there needs to be some softness also. You can destroy yourself with being just too hard. But there's also another phenomenon, and we talked about that before. That if you really try to create something original, you might face a lot of resistance. It
Oh,
can be the inner critic saying, "Oh, it's nobody will be interested in that. It's pointless to try it anyways." And the Pomodoro technique can you help to shut this out? I
mhm.
think this is a very good thing because you can be very focused, but also very tense and think all the time. It has to be good. It has to be good. The Pomodoro technique forces you to only focus, let's say, for 25 minutes and really not think of that. And I found this very useful in the whole
Yeah. Well,
technique
I think
part.
technology definitely can help us, and that's what I was saying. It's not
Mm,
just AI. There are tools that will limit screen time, that will limit app time, that will limit all of these things. So if people do have a problem with this, and you recognize if you do, and it's very difficult to put these things down. Like I said, they're the most interesting thing in the world.
mm,
Use the technology, find some apps that actually shut down your phone after a certain period of time so that you don't get sucked in to all these things. Because, like I said, people are weak. We have it's really difficult for us to be disciplined unless we've been raised disciplined.
mm.
So, using the technology to help us be more disciplined is always good because
Yes, and
it's
I
not
think in a word,
it's
yeah.
bad for you, but at the same time, it
Mm.
can be good for you.
Yes, yes, like everything,
Mhm.
and sometimes the poison is the cure, right? Yeah,
That's right.
one thing
Moderation in all
is
things, right? Isn't that what it is?
yeah, exactly. And I also think in a world of instant gratification, long term goals and growth are often hit with tremendous resistance or sometimes even frowned upon. But that's where we have to go. And consistency is more important here than perfection. So do sprints, Pomodoro sprints on an important task every day, and if you don't give up, you cannot fail. Because, of course, it's not about pulling an all nighter and putting in all the work and then you're exhausted. It's about constant effort. I think this is consistency is the thing. I wouldn't even call that discipline. It's really the thing is you have to be consistent with it.
Mm,
And then you cannot fail. If you exhaust yourself, let's say for a couple for a week even, but then you are exhausted, you will also fail. So it's better to consistency is key here, but then you almost cannot fail.
yep.
I wanted
Keep
to talk
going
about
until you know.
until you know exactly keep you
Yep.
going, and the Pomodoro technique, I think this keeps you going. It's
Hmm.
also uh, like writers, we already talked about Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art.
Mm,
He's a writer. He writes fiction, but he also writes these books on writing, and it's very interesting. He describes how to defeat the resistance, and it's kind of the Pomodoro technique. You sit down and you do the thing every single day, but there comes a time in the day where you are done. It's
yep.
not like, "Oh, I'm still not done, I'm still not done." This was my problem. I was always on. This is still something. And these techniques helped me a lot to say, "No, today I'm done. Now I can
Yep.
relax."
Yep.
And this is also very important to keep going.
Well, it's like time boxing, which is another technique that we talked about a couple of weeks ago on 10XU. Is
Time
a lot of
boxing,
people
what's that?
don't time box, right? They don't time box where you just basically look at your schedule and you say, okay, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do this here. They just leave it wide open, and people book
Mm,
them for whatever. And it's like when you it's part of the getting things done technique too, right? So the getting things done technique is if it takes less than 2 minutes, do it right away. But if it takes
mm,
longer than 2 minutes, schedule it. Like put it into
mm,
your calendar. I mean, we all use electronic calendars. We all have Google Calendar or something like that. Time box it. So this is when I'm going to write. This is when I'm going to rest. This is when I'm going to do this. This is when I'm going to do that. So fill out, spend some time filling out your entire calendar
mm,
so that you know what you're going to be doing when. So that's another technique that's useful because you could say like I'm going to set it a half an hour to sit on TikTok and do nothing else, right? But as soon as that half an hour is over, you're off to the next thing. So that's another technique that you can use sort of to manage your time as long as you keep to it. And that's the problem about keeping to it is that and that's where the technology comes in, which can say, wait a minute, it's like you're overstaying your TikTok time. Let me shut down your phone. Okay, you know.
mm. Yes. So, in fact, everyone can cure that TikTok brain. It takes focus and intention, but it is absolutely doable. And also important is, I think, to win in the social media game, we can follow a very simple principle: always produce more than you consume.
Hmm.
This way, you achieve a net positive. So make it yours, work with it, not against it, and don't let the technology control you. Now, how can we do that? How can we step out of our TikTok brain and become creators instead of consumers? What is your advice for that?
We've never been in a better time for that. Never,
Mhm.
ever been in a better time for that. There are so many channels to create. It's unbelievable. And
That's
it's
right.
interesting you should mention Stephen Pressfield, because I just finished a book on writing by Stephen King where he talks about
Mhm.
his writing process. I don't know
Mhm.
if you've read that one, but he
No.
actually reads a lot. So
Mm.
he reads a lot because if you think about it, I mean, as creators, we need input, right? There's got to be input to our systems so that we can take that input and turn it into an output. And if you're a creator, you're creating stuff all the time, but you need something to come in before you can spit something out. And what's happening is that there's a lot of these people out there who are basically sitting and consuming all of the time, and they've got
Right.
this huge sort of almost a mental database of things that they've put together based on all of the stuff they've consumed. And all they really need to do is sort of release that into the world. So it's never been easier to, get on X or get on YouTube or whatever. I mean, you can create a TikTok video in seconds and become a creator. And it's not just to because you want to become an influencer or become someone famous or something like that. You just have to release all of this creativity that you have, because I believe every human being is creative. They just don't
Right.
have outlets for their creativity, and people should just
Mm.
create an outlet for their creativity, whether they write it on a blog post or post it on Facebook or put it in YouTube, on videos on
Or
YouTube or
create a
TikTok
business.
videos or Instagram. There is so many ways for people to just create. And if they spend more time creating, then they'll spend less time consuming. And then they can justify their
Right.
consumption by saying, well, I need to consume this so I can
I need
create.
inspiration. Exactly.
And one
Exactly.
of
You
the
can use it like that. Yes.
Yeah, and one of the things, so one of the aspects of 10xU is wellness, right? So there's a health and wellness aspect to it as well. And the very first wellness post we had was on basically talking and writing and just getting your emotions out, right?
Mm.
And I think that's really helpful to be able to just write or speak or spew your emotions out into some medium. Whether you do something with it or not. I mean, you could put it on, if you put it online, even better. But
Mm.
getting it out is really helpful for wellness, to sort of reduce your stress and just push the emotions out. I don't know if you heard about this recent thing that's happening. It's like I forget what they call it, like rage fests or something like that, where people are like just going out into the
No.
forest and screaming and yelling and
Oh,
smashing things
but
and
that's
stuff.
also not new.
But I think people need to express themselves, and the more they express themselves, probably the better they'll feel.
That's right. And also, coming back to I recently toy a lot with Midjourney and Leonardo AI, um, like art creation. And
Exactly.
it's really an inspiration. You can get out your ideas. It was so easy for me because I always think in pictures. I
Mm.
only had to describe the pictures in my head. So sometimes when people say, "Oh, can you teach me how to do that?" For me, it's like, what do you mean? You just have to write down, you describe the picture you have in your head. And they are like, I don't have a picture in my head. Okay. But this for me was very intuitive, and it immediately worked. And you can get out so much more things. Just imagine if I had to draw everything out of my head, it was always kind of too much.
Yeah.
My head is always exploding with creativity.
Hmm.
And I was always glad to have some outlets like working for PR agency where you have to do creative concepts for the clients all the time. That was really good for me to channel that. But AI really helps me a lot to get that out quickly. And it also adds some new creativity. The
Oh, absolutely.
inspiration is there
I
also immediately
Yeah, I
because it
do the
always
exact
creates
same thing.
something new.
Yeah, I do the
Yes.
exact same thing. In fact, visual storytelling was exact one of the things that we talked about as well. Was instead of creating text or having it write something out, just describe a situation and have it visually create it. I mean, a lot of people, they're creative, but they just don't have the capability to do the creation. right? They're
Yes.
physically unable. I mean, if
The
you looked at
skills
anything
and
I've ever drawn, it's terrible. But
so show us
yeah,
sometime.
with AI, with AI, I can actually create something that is what's sitting in my head, but a
Mhm.
visualization of it, which where I wasn't able to do it before. And that's another thing that's amazing about how it democratizes it, and it allows people to really share their creativity with the world that they would never be able to do before.
That's right. And I would like to tell our audience the world needs you. We need your creativity, your full potential. Don't deprive us of it by numbing yourself out. And if you would like our help with it, just send us an email to office@redswan.at and we'll chat about the options. So let's wrap this up. Chris, what would you like to leave us with today?
I think that we all need help as human beings. And
Everyone needs help.
everyone needs
Yeah,
help. I mean, no man is an island, right? I mean, everybody needs help from people, but technology can help you as well as hinder you. So use
both.
the tools
Yes.
that are around you to help
Mm,
you do whatever you want in your life. Like, don't shun these things because they're technology. There's lots of stuff out there that will help you reach your goals, not stop you from reaching your goals. And use whatever you need to reach your goals. Like, go through things, test things out, try Pomodoro, try time boxing, try different kinds of calendars, different kinds of to-do lists, whatever helps you to sort of expand your attention span and get out there and create. I mean, consumption is
exactly.
fine, but
Yeah.
you have so much to give to the world as a creative
Mm,
human being. Like,
mm.
get it out there. Like, there's never been a better time to create and sort of demonstrate yourself to the world.
Thank you for watching Code Red,
Thank you
Technology,
very much.
Madness, and the
That's
Future of
perfect.
Humanity. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Do you know 3 people who would also enjoy the content? And share it with them. It would greatly support our work. In any case, let me thank you for taking the time and for your bravery to change the world by starting with yourself. I wish you a good day or a good night, and in any case, a good life. See you next time, my dear friends.